I was born in 1918. My mother was born in 50 Judfield Street, and I was born in 73 Judfield Street. And we was all brought up in that house. Well, do you know, it was a 2-bedroom, and there was 10 of us, and I kind of was in the middle, as I was always the one that was fetch me, bring me, carry me, be safe. We didn't have a lot of money, so they always kept hens and things like that in the backyard. My father couldn't read or write, but my father worked down pit, every one of them was all involved in the pits. You see, there was Southport pit, Line pits, Wood pit, and Boston.
All, yeah.
When I left school at 14, I mean, I worked hot pit brew and I worked hard. How it come that I started up pit brew? Well, my mother's house belonged to Richard Evans.
Yeah.
He owned them 4 pits in Haydock, you see. So what they did then, whoever was in the house, they'd give them a job so that they was sure of getting the rent. And my mother's rent was always chucked out in our wages. The first thing my mother did, you started off at works hot pit brew. You had to go out and buy what they called a shoulder shawl. Now, a shoulder shawl was what your grandmas wore. And there were squares like that, you see, like a tablecloth. If you'd enough money, like you could buy a woolly one or you could buy a cotton one, just depends. There'd probably be a shilling then or 1 and 6. Now, what you used to do was, because you got as black as Collier. You was black and with no back. There was nothing. You'd have a red handkerchief right here, and you used to put this red handkerchief with spots on, and you'd tie it here so that there was none of your hair showing whatsoever. Now, what you did was, if you had a piece of cardboard and you cut it like that, and then you'd wind it up on the night before, and you'd push it in a pint cup, that'd give you a frame. And you'd have to have something dark, and you wore black. No such thing as tights. Black thick stocking. And you always wore, more or less, a man's jacket.
Yeah.
You know, like a coat that your brother finished with.
Yeah.
You know, like what they used to call a blue serge coat. You'd wear a man's jacket. And your clogs and your thick underwear. Uta went at 7 o'clock. Now we had to walk, we'd a good half-hour's walk. Now you started at 7 o'clock and there was no rest, nowhere, till 11. They'd bring the corn out of the cage in boxes, in 3 boxes, and they'd be together.
Yeah.
You see. Somebody at the pit, the onsetter, he had all to do with the cages. So going from then, and then you see, there used to be what they called a tippler.
Yeah, that turned the box.
That turned the box, yeah. And you shove the boxes in, and the core would go down this tippler. Now the belts, what we used to have to pick the dirt out of, would be about a yard and a half.
Yeah,
you see.
Right.
But when it actually come, as it was on the belts, now it would shake itself. Well, there was what they called shakers.
Oh yeah.
And they used to be going boom, 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 boom.
It.
And they used to have riddles in them every so far, as the smell would go down. I always remember a girl, and there was something a little bit lacking with this girl, but she was a big young woman. But she was there for the same reason as me. She was paying her mother's rent. And she used to have a rake. And she got that rake and she'd bring it back. There was only her did that, and her hands was full of blisters. No such thing as gloves. You'd no gloves. You see, you used to have to do it with your hand. And then at Outably at 11 o'clock. And then you were all scattered. And there was no such thing as going out for pies and going out for chips. You had a couple of butters of jam. And you'd just 20 minutes. The next thing was that who to go. So it was, and we had to go back. And then we worked then till the pit stopped winding at 2:30. They give over winding cord.
Yeah.
You had to start winding the men up.
Yeah.
But you hadn't finished work them on top. You had to work till 3:30. And then after the Southport pit finished, I was out of work for a while, and I said I would go to service, you know, like domestic work, you know. And my mother, I don't know how my mother did it, but my mother got me on at Boston, so I ended up at Boston. And my husband worked at Boston as well. I mean, my husband worked 40 years at pit. Then props come in, you see, they'd stack them up, and then we used to have to and take them off one at a time and take the bark off. Well, that was our job, peeling the bark off the props. It was the best job I ever had, really. I was the easy in it, and it was, well, I thought it was easy. And we used to start there at 7 o'clock in the morning and only finish at 4 o'clock. And then these houses was being built, you see. And so I said, I think we're better going in for one of these houses. There's another thing is it's a 3-bedroom. It was just like coming to a foreign country, and everybody was different. And I used to come home and I had 2 children, and I would clean the house. But our Doreen was very alert, and she would get up. And then our Ruddy was at grammar school, West Park Grammar School, and he was up really because he was going at 8 o'clock. But I enjoyed it all. It's just that people looked down on you because you were top pit brew. They thought you was common.
When I worked at Pilkington's, you had to wear gloves because they used to work with glass all over the floor.
Yeah, so you need to.
And I used to have to cut my ankles right out because he used to kick my ankles all. And then I sort of had rubber soles, rubber clamp irons on.
Yeah.
We used to get our clogs from Charlie Woods's. He used to have a clogger shop at top of Liverpool Road. And he used to sit there on the bench and make clogs. And he used to have clogs, little tiny ones that size. We used to get our clogs from there when we started work. And one girl I worked with, I used to call for every morning home. And I used to laugh because the clogs that you wore, you used to have to use blacking on them and do them with a brush. Oh, your clogs used to shine like glass. And her father used to clean her clogs with the blacking that they did the grey with. And they used to come out a funny colour. And she said, look at the clogs and that like yours. I said, because your dad's cleaning them with black lead of great and they're going a funny colour. Oh dear. I was 14 when I went to Pilkington's and I was about only little 6 stone. Every day I used to go to Pilkington's and hardly any vacancies. If you were small and weedy like, you know, you just didn't want to know. There used to be an old boss there, old Mr. Icon, and he used to say, come here, I want your minutes. Come and work on this little grinding table for me. Because he used to feel sorry for me being so little and having these big glass things to carry, you know. Yeah. There used to be a cutter's board and these big saddles used to come off the cutter's board, off the tanks to the cutter's board. And the cutter used to cut the lip off. It was jagged. You used to have leather cuffs and pieces of felt. And they used to put one on top of the other. Well, with me being little, I couldn't see all the time. I used to be walking blind, you know.
So you were carrying
the clothes off.
Yeah.
I used to get 5 and 4 a week. That was from 8 in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. I only worked hard for them. And I used to have to take that straight home to my mother on a Friday, and she used to give me my fortums spent. I used to get forms. Well, then on a Friday dinner time, going back work, I used to turn out to be Terran, used to go to Bonnie's. In Liverpool, I used to get the rosebuds. We used to be well off with that. Once I got to be a teenager, we used to go dances. It used to be tuppence or fourpence to go in the dance, big bands playing all over the town. It used to be lovely. They were good days. They were good days if you were brought up right. I enjoyed every minute of it because my mother was very clean and she looked after us well. You know, we were her whole life.
So how do you think things have changed since the 1930s?
I mean, we don't wear these like clothing anymore, and we have like better like transportation. Like we could get a taxi or a bus, or we could bike there, while they had to like walk all the way.
Like they had to work like long shifts without a break and stuff like that, or have like a 20-minute break, like you said, for the dinner and stuff.
We have like longer breaks now.
Yeah.
Like if we were 14, we'd still be in school, but if it was like 90 years ago, we'd be like working.
So do you do any chores at all?
No.
At home, yeah, I do loads.
Well, my mum once did this thing on my credit card where she'd give me like £3 if I did something.
Oh my gosh, I had the same.
Every like Wednesday. I never did it. It says £0 earned. Done it. It's like, clean your room every Wednesday and Saturday. £0 earned.
No, I clean my room, I do the dishes and stuff, and sometimes I cook, like at least once a week.
So, and do you feel you've got choices about what you do?
Like the jobs, we could pick whether we wanted to like babysit, do dog walking, like McDonald's, they probably had like really like way less options.
Yeah, or instead of like everyone following the same career all the time, you could go different ones. So like, say she wants to carry on doing acting, she will pursue that. And if I want to go like on a different thing, then I'll do my own little thing, like different career paths.
Yeah.
So if you could speak to Annie Nicholson, what would you say?
Yeah, but like if they didn't do that job, then we wouldn't have like the stuff that we
Yeah.
have now. So kind of like, thank you.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't know it, they did that for us eventually.
They like laid the path out for us so we could have it easy. They did it hard so we could do it easy.
Yeah.